We all have different play styles when it comes to gaming, and I've found that gamers always tend to fall under one of 8 categories. It's a really strange phenomenon because how you play video games is actually very indicative of your personality and age group.
Me and Heather are both 33 and as such are old and do not understand 90% of the playstyles these young'uns embrace nowadays. Hello, I'm Craig.
And I'm Heather.
And without giving away our entries, let's jump right in with what is perhaps the most common.
In today's society of immediate gratification and millennials, the rusher is a gaming style that is very common. We all know one of these kinds of gamers who rush through the main story, completely ignoring anything else that the game has to offer, and then complaining that the game felt lacking. Well, yes. You spent £60 on a game you only experienced about 10% of through your own volition. That's like buying a beautiful 12-inch pizza, licking a single slice, then review bombing the restaurant on Uber Eats, claiming you only got a 1-inch pizza with a bug in it.
I'm just going to roll with Heather's odd pizza analogy here. So, imagine the base of the pizza is the gaming world itself, the tomato puree is the main story, and the cheese is the characters. These 3 elements are the foundation of any great pizza. Then you have your toppings, which in this random analogy represent the things that flesh out the world, story and characters. Things like side quests, exploration, lore, etc.
Why some gamers opt to buy a full pizza and then just squirt tomato puree in their mouths on its own instead of eating the full pizza, I will never understand. I'm suddenly quite hungry. Anyways, if you rush through a game, then you miss out on a lot of great things. I mean, imagine just doing the main quest in Skyrim and that's it. Of course you will think the game was crap.
Open world games are not meant to be played as if they are linear, so do yourself a favour and whoa there, slow down. Take in the sights of whatever beautifully designed virtual world you find yourself in and learn to appreciate the art that is game development. The rusher actually goes hand in hand with our next entry because it seems to be the same group of people. Perhaps learned behaviour. I really want a pizza now.
I know, right?
The same won't happen here.
Hard moders are just the worst. Sorry guys, but as a notorious easy moder who prefers a more relaxed gaming experience and hates being challenged too much when I'm trying to relax, hard moders are my arch nemesis. Although hard games have always existed, hard moders seem to come out in force when the likes of Bloodborne and Dark Souls took the world by storm.
When we were younger, we handled defeating a hard game, like Crash 1, with humbled pride. We didn't have trophies or achievements or social media as a means to boast and feel superior. All we had was bragging rights in the school playground, and even then nobody believed your accomplishment, so it was pointless trying to seek praise. It tends to be the under 25s age group that see gaming as some kind of competitive sport, because when you reach 30 you no longer care what other people think. But the older the hard moder is, the worse they are for some reason. Perhaps trying to make up for the playground days. Or is that just us?
I'm playing with my feet, and I'm still better than you. How are you doing that?
I only have beef with hard moders because they happily shame people like me who don't play games on Super Nipple Twister Nightmare mode, expecting a round of applause for declaring to the world that they only play games on hard. Well done, I guess. Is that meant to impress? Have you put it on your CV or resume? Because you totally should, since I can't imagine there's much else on there.
Ouch, meow, Heather. But in her defence, she has always been pointlessly disgraced for playing games on normal or easy mode. It genuinely makes no difference. It's not like the old days when developers would actively punish players for playing on easy, withholding aspects of the game. Normally, the only difference is that enemies are less aggressive, so you can forego a heavy combat experience in favour of other aspects of the game.
This gaming style is extra annoying when you are struggling with a part of a game that is intended to be hard, and hard moders just can't leave it alone. They have to declare, but it's easy, meh. Good for you and your superior gaming skills. You're clearly a bit of a dick, aren't you? Now go away and get good at being a nicer human.
I'm not gonna let it faze me. I'm not gonna let it faze me. Ah, faze me!
To play devil's advocate, I'm sure there are nice hard moders out there.
No, there isn't. My brother's a hard moder and he's an horrible git.
Who just want to be the best at whatever game they enjoy the most. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we have yet to meet one that deals with this with the same humble pride that we did back in the day. Anyways, let's move on.
Our next entry is the opposite of the hard moder, and that's the easy moder. Easy moders don't play to be the best at a game because enjoyment is their primary motivation. They don't see dying over and over and over again, becoming more and more angry and frustrated as a form of enjoyment. Even after finally winning, it's just not worth it.
On easy mode there's little challenge and therefore your time can be spent just leisurely traversing the world, looting, doing odd jobs and stuff, without the constant onslaughts of hostile foes. Playing on easy mode, at least at first, is a great way to experience all that the game has to offer. Easy moders don't necessarily play all games on easy mode, just the games where enemies and combat have the potential to detract from other elements of the game, like exploration.
I personally don't see what's wrong with being an easy moder. Maybe it's because I don't understand how gaming ability signifies level of manhood, being of the female persuasion. I was once told online that it's only okay for me to play games on easy mode because I'm a woman, but whoa. Stop right there. That's a load of bull. Firstly, there are plenty of female hard moders and gaming skill has absolutely nothing to do with gender. Secondly, being an easy moder doesn't mean I'm bad at a game. I'm actually an expert at games like God of War and Ghost of Tsushima, and I could play games on a harder difficulty, but I simply don't want the aggravation. I'd rather just chill. I know I'm ranting a lot in this video so far, but that's because I'm kinda tired of defending myself over something so stupid.
I agree with Heather. It's a silly thing for people to focus on. Who cares if you prefer to explore and play games at a slower pace without the constant onslaught of hostile enemies? Although I have to admit that sometimes my pride will not allow me to reduce a game's difficulty, especially when I believe that a game shouldn't be as hard as it is. Instead of reducing the difficulty so I can enjoy the game more, I punish myself by simply not playing the game again. Not sure why. I guess it's my massive ego.
Yep, 100% ego. Our next entry is the Explorer. There are gamers out there that have to explore every single nook and cranny of a game. Perhaps they have a severe fear of missing out, maybe they have OCD, or they just want to get value for money. Either way, being an explorer goes hand in hand with playing games at a slower pace, but not necessarily on easy mode.
Every area must be exhausted before moving forward, and since games started embracing an open world formula, explorers really have been given a wonderful playground of freedom. Games like Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Origins, Hogwarts Legacy, Horizon, there's so many games that cater to the explorer. Explorers also speak to everyone in a game and are often rewarded for their efforts.
These are the kinds of people that, if the game tells them to go left, they will go right first, just to check and make sure there's no hidden treasure, because you never know. They find everything and see everything. Games like Ys are excellent for explorers because filling out the entire map is part of an in-game cartography mechanic that produces rewards.
The only problem with being an explorer is that sometimes exploring everything can be a compulsion, and with open worlds getting bigger and more sophisticated, it can be a real time consuming playstyle, and it kinda relates to our next entry.
Completionists aren't necessarily trophy or achievement hunters, they're a different breed who end up doing some stupid stuff to get all the trophies or achievements. The completionists we're talking about are those who do everything within the game.
They finish all side quests, optional tasks and boss battles, max out all character stats, cook every recipe or create all alchemical concoctions, catch every type of fish, become the best of any in-game competitions and anything else that isn't the main quest. Then they do the main quest and feel satisfaction seeing 100% across the board.
The funny thing about completionists is that they sometimes end up doing some really grueling and pointless side quests and collectathons just to ensure they have done everything. Pointlessly collecting all 900 Korok seeds in Zelda Breath of the Wild when 441 is required to max out your inventory. Collecting all Gwent cards in The Witcher 3 despite Gwent not being required for any part of the main quest. And the cup noodle and frog collecting side quests in Final Fantasy 15.
Even worse are those endless quests that always spawn. They are a completionist nightmare because a game never feels complete, such as the never-ending requisition quests in Dragon Age Inquisition and Preston Garvey's settlement defense quest in Fallout 4 that are forever on a loop.
If I love a game, then I do try to 100% it. I 100% completed God of War, Ni no Kuni, Ratchet & Clank and others, but I'm certainly not going to break my back looking for 999 Gimmighoul coins in Pokemon Scarlet or Violet. Forget that. I got a chest form Gimmighoul using a mystery gift code and they can also be found on Glacido Mountain, but finding 999 coins to evolve it into Cheese String Guy is asking a bit too much. Speaking of Pokemon, next up is the Grinder, who can be seen battling Pokemon in the starting area of a game for hours until every Pokemon is caught and is at the same level, don't they, Craig?
Yes, you will not change me. I am definitely a grinder, but mostly only in Pokemon. You can't over-level in Pokemon though, because they start scratching their asses if their level is higher than your current gym badge enables. A lesson that Heather learnt the hard way.
Yeah, well, there's no consequence for over-leveling your Ni no Kuni, and as someone who jumped on the poker bandwagon very late, how was I supposed to know? I think the only other game I've played that punishes grinders is Digimon, which literally resets your progress and presents it as a main mechanic in the game. Something else I didn't know and wanted to smash my controller over.
Yeah, Digimon has always done that, I forgot to tell you. Anyways, grinding takes endurance and you have to care enough about the game you are playing to be able to put up with the grind. Pokemon is the best example here because the battle music can drive you insane after a while, so I end up grinding with the sound off.
Nobody enjoys grinding, it's just an accepted part of becoming stronger in a game and levelling up enough to prepare you for what lies ahead. When it comes to grinding, no games compare to JRPGs. JRPGs can have quite a steep grind, but they, more often than not, eventually have some kind of discoverable exploit that makes the grind much easier. For example, metal slimes, tacos, cactuars, and accessories or food that increase XP gains. It feels great to be rewarded for putting in so much time and effort.
There's not really much else to say about this one. We all know what grinding is. Sometimes it's necessary and sometimes people overdo it to feel like overpowered gaming gods. Our penultimate entry is The Complainer. We all know a notorious complainer gamer, and if you don't, that's you. They're those people who invest hundreds of hours into a game they clearly like, yet they completely trash talk the game online, saying things like, this game is so boring and crap. Well, if it's so boring and crap, why did you play it for so long? And why are you still playing it?
It's a strange gamer type, this, because I don't understand why admitting you like a game is a bad thing. Perhaps it's just people who are naturally jaded and therefore unimpressed with everything. Or they think it's cool to act this way. I mean, it works for Billie Eilish, that monotone teen goth angst life is pain, and I swear it's not just a phase, Dad, muppet.
Wow, take it you're not a fan of Billie Eilish then?
Nope. I don't get why she's so popular and accomplished.
Neither do I, but there are people who buy her records anyway.
But back to our entry.
Okay, I think we all have a little bit of the complainer in us. There's a reason why we say everyone's a critic. Because even I have gripes with my favourite game series like Mass Effect that shat the bed with the ME3 ending. But this doesn't necessarily mean we are complainers. It just means that we have high expectations for developers we adore.
Real complainers completely deny liking a game that they have invested hundreds of hours into. I know we are all probably guilty of this with at least one game where we aren't fully enjoying it but are still playing it for some reason 30 hours later. For me, that game is The Witcher. I feel so meh towards the game, yet I keep going back to it, so I must like it. I don't love it, I like it, I guess.
For me, it's Dragon Age Inquisition. I did enjoy the game, but it has zero replayability to me, yet I've strangely put in more than a single playthrough and bought all the DLCs. Not sure why. The more recent game for both of us is Starfield, although I have my issues with that game because I feel massively let down by Bethesda, who could achieve so much more if they didn't linger on limited technology that quells their capabilities.
I enjoyed the game and I will play it again after it's been updated. Anyway, so many people are online complaining about Starfield by saying things like, on New Game Plus 8, and this game is so empty and boring and blah blah blah. I don't know about you, but when I don't like a game, I do the unthinkable. I turn it off and I never play it again. I can normally tell if a game is going to be my cup of tea after the first hour or so. I don't play the game 8 times and then decide I hate it.
But this is the nature of the complainer. They play it more so that they complain more, even if they do actually like the game. It's such a strange way to be. If you love a game, then admit it. There's no shame in being a fanboy or fangirl. It's okay.
A final entry covers a few different subtypes that fall under the umbrella of the snobs. There's console snobs who believe that their gaming platform is superior, and instead of embracing all gaming mediums, they dump on everything that isn't their chosen platform. And thus, the silly console war rages on.
Then there's graphic snobs who only play games with top tier visuals using only the best gear. This can apply to PC gamers, but they don't necessarily go hand in hand. Graphic snobs linger on a game's graphical quality. They turn into complainers if a game doesn't run at 1080p 60 FPS at least, with 4K and a sickening 120 frame rate being a current goal. Sadly, graphic snobs are missing out on some of the best games out there that haven't aimed for graphical realism. But their loss, I guess.
There are also plenty of gamers who only play online games. These online snobs either do it for the social element, likely learned behaviour from the Xbox 360 era when online gaming with friends was booming. Others prefer winning and beating other players into the ground, and others just prefer it, simple as. With free online games becoming much more sophisticated, like Fortnite, Fall Guys, Genshin Impact and more, it's safe to say that the online snob group is growing. Even games like Red Dead, Tsushima, GTA and lots of others are integrating an online element of the game, so online gamers are being well nourished.
There's nostalgia. Why can't I say nostalgia? Why can't I say it? There's nostalgia snobs. I did it.
Oh, okay.
Who refuse to embrace anything to do with modern gaming, believing that games from their youth are innately superior. They only play games from a bygone era or modern games reminiscent of retro games. These are the people who generally prefer turn-based combat over live action and prefer original installments of games over perfectly solid remakes.
Although turn-based can be excellent when implemented correctly, I consider turn-based a product of its time, and it was used more as a result of the technological limitations of the time, rather than a preferred combat style. But each to their own. I mean, turn-based is making a comeback in a big way recently, in some smashing games like Sea of Stars, Octopath, Baldur's Gate 3 and more.
I admittedly have a little of the nostalgia element. I'm not as close-minded when it comes to trying new games, but I've been let down a lot in recent years, and as a result I tend to default to my comfy games of which I have more positive memories of. Mass Effect, Crash Bandicoot, Elder Scrolls, Halo, KOTOR and Fallout being the best examples. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Finally, there's the rich snobs. These are gamer nerds who seem to have endless cash. They always buy collector's deluxe editions and pre-orders of games, buy merchandise, they have a dedicated gaming space with the most expensive equipment, and attend all gaming events dressed up like their favourite gaming character.
I genuinely don't know how they have time to game if they are working enough to earn so much money. We all envy those who fall under the rich snobs category because they represent what we as gamers aspire to. We would love to spend hundreds on collector's editions of games and possess rare gaming items, but alas, not all of us can afford it, especially when games themselves are pushing £70 these days.
The only bad thing about rich snobs is if they perpetuate the scourge that is microtransactions. This is particularly wrong in online gaming, which is ironically where it is most prevalent. If you have the money, you can just pay to win. Yay! Having more money shouldn't mean that you are given an unfair advantage within a game. That just makes it a fix. It should be a level playing field. So, I hope you enjoyed this list and let us know what playstyle or styles you identify with the most. I consider myself an exploring easy moder. Craig might not like to admit it, but he's definitely an explorer nostalgia snob.
Whatever you say, easy moder.
Yeah. Thanks for your continued support in helping our channel grow. I've been Heather.
And I've been Craig.
This is Amalgamingle, and thanks for watching.